G'day all, Aussie bloke here, how's it going? Now thanks to Turn 10 dropping the last car pack a week early, it kind of stuffed around my order of videos I was going to upload. This review was supposed to come out a week ago, but oh well, it's here now. Yeah, so today's first drive review is this 2011 BMW X5M. Now this one's going to be a bit different. Unlike my last few videos I did where I was a little bit negative on some of the cars, I'm going to try stop being such a sook and just enjoy the cars, and let's just get on with the review. So no more bagging out the cars. So this is a new me with a fresh start, so let's get started. This BMW is a very impressive car. It's got a big and very powerful engine up front, four-wheel drive, it's got lots of luxuries in the cabin, it can go off-road, over rocks, up and down small hills, it can go through small creeks. It is a very impressive off-roading car. Or at least that's what the people who buy the car tell anyone who listens what it can do, because yeah, seriously though, the places this big off-roading car can go are just amazing. It's fairly easy to park, so that's exciting news if you've got your one or two little kids in the back and you're on the way to daycare. It's a lot easier in the morning knowing you can park it. It also makes foraging for food at the shopping centre a lot easier since you're higher up and you can spot the empty car parks from a distance. Or you could 10 years ago, but now every single car park's full of these cars, so it makes spotting a car park very hard, even when you're very tall. And with the sensational suspension underneath this car, you know you'll never spill a drop of coffee as you're doing 1 mile an hour over a tiny little speed hump like it's a bloody lowered tuner car. Now, down here in Melbourne, I assume it's like this everywhere else, but the last 10 to 15 years, these big off-road cars have replaced the old sedans and station wagons, or what they're called estates and whatnot, saloons overseas, but they've just replaced them completely. Yeah, the people who actually buy these big off-road cars for the city have actually convinced themselves, because they sit about a foot higher up in the air, that they're safer. Keep telling yourself that. I've driven a Toyota Land Cruiser, my friend's got one, and it's a big car, and the whole time I was convinced I was going to roll the bloody thing. It's so top heavy. You feel it shifting around so much. This vision's not an actual race, it's just a bunch of parents running late from the school trying to get to the last seat in the cafe for a coffee in the morning. But well, all bad jokes aside, what do you get for the car? With the car, sorry. Well, you get a twin turbocharged V8 that makes an impressive 547 horsepower and 501 foot-pounds of torque, which I've got to admit is a lot of power. At the same time, it's needed as this X5 weighs in at 5,300 pounds or 2,400 kilograms. That is a lot of car right there. Performance wise, it's still pretty good for its size. It does 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, 0 to 100 is 10 seconds flat, and the top speed's about 178 miles an hour. Now, I'm not a fan of these big cars in real life or in this game, but even I've got to admit that's pretty damn quick. I drove this car for about an hour in game, and it was actually quite surprising. It wasn't as bad as I was expecting. But the most impressive thing about this car is there's not really much body roll. I thought I'd roll this car so easily, when you're changing directions from corner to corner and you clip curbs like the old games. But there's not really, it handles the shifting around of the weight really well. You've never really felt it wanting to roll. Sure, I got it up on two wheels from time to time, but it never felt like it was going to tip over. And for a big car that does decent speed down the straight, it's got pretty good brakes, which obviously have to work really hard to slow down that momentum of all that weight shifting down the straights, but they do a pretty good job slowing it down. The turning for the corners is okay, but there is a little bit of understeer. But it isn't too bad, you can deal with it. It's just typical four-wheel drive understeer stuff. Yeah, being so top heavy, there's a problem. This is the first time I've raced at top gear in the wet on this layout. And I was too busy racing, I didn't check about the water, and I hit some water and kind of aquaplaned, and that's the result. I think that's the biggest off I've ever had for a while. Yeah, once it dug in the grass, there's no stopping it, and that's a lot of rolls. Yeah, I'm very proud of that. It's a decent crash. Just too bad the cameras didn't work, but you can kind of see it here while I'm following in one of the driver tar cars. I'm very proud of that. That's a good crash. That'll be going on a highlight package later on, I think. Also, the other week I was doing late shift, so I wasn't getting home till about 2:30 in the morning, and when you finish work, you're too wired, you can't go to sleep, so I just sat up and played some Xbox for a little while, and I was just doing some practice laps with this car Watkins Glen, and I may have fallen asleep down the back straight. So yeah, don't drive when you're really tired. I trimmed the clip, but originally this goes for a couple of minutes, just sitting there, just accelerating at the fence. Yeah, don't drive when you're tired. Alright, so we're back at Watkins Glen, awake this time for the final test. It feels like a while since I've been here because I've been so busy the last week or two doing all the videos on the new cars. It feels like I've been ages since I've done a proper review. So like all my other reviews, the X5 standard and untuned, and it gets 10 laps around here, and then the best times put on my leaderboard. Yeah, this is a pretty big car. It's not a bad looking car, I'm just not a fan of that grille. That grille just looks out of place in the front of this car. But other than that, it's not a bad looking car. Driving around here though, it's not bad. It builds up the revs pretty quickly between gears though. In the S's here, which is turns 2 and 3, it's pretty fast. Spot of the track, but the weight was shifting around quite a bit, and I hit the outside wall there a few times. There's still a little bit of understeer in some of the corners, which made it quite tricky, especially through here. And it was getting a little frustrating, but I did manage to get a handle of it eventually. The brakes were doing a pretty good job down here, especially on both the back straights. The BMW built up a bit of speed. I was hitting 132 miles an hour down the back straight. The brakes did a really good job stopping me in time. Yeah, but overall around here at Watkins Glen, this car handles really well, especially in the corners, other than the understeer. Because there isn't much body roll, which helps because you get to stick to the racing line fairly easy. There's a lot of big four-wheel drive cars I've driven, the weight shifts around so much, but this car handles it really well. And with it being four-wheel drive, you can get onto the power really easily out of the corners. And for a big car, this has really good acceleration out of the corners. So after 10 laps here at Watkins Glen, the best time I could get was a 2 minutes 17.6, which is actually a lot quicker than I was expecting. But it also sadly means this X5's faster than all the Aussie muscle cars I've driven around here, and that's really depressing. All our classic muscle cars are beaten around here by a car driven by wankers. That's just not right. Yeah, when I first drove this car around here, I got about a high 2:18 lap. A few days later, I got the car back out and did some more laps, and I got a 2 minutes 17.6, which you just saw there on the leaderboard. So out of curiosity, I might start taking previous cars I've driven around here and take them back out and see if I can improve on the time now that I know this track so well. Until then, enjoy some of my stuff ups. I'm Aussie Bloke, hope you enjoyed, like and subscribe for more, and yeah, cheers for watching. Yep.